On the day I moved out, I fit my whole life in 2 car trips. An old couch that Emily and I bought together at a thrift store, some clothes stuffed into garbage bags, a few books I never finished reading, a lamp, 2 shoeboxes full of random cables I didn't even know what they belonged to, and a silence that filled the rest of the space. I loaded everything myself, up and down the stairs, sweating, exhausted. But the detail that broke me in half wasn't the physical exhaustion. It was realizing, somewhere between the first and second trip, something I'd never seen clearly before. I didn't have any real friends. Not a single one of those boxes was carried by a friend of mine. Because in the moment I needed help most, I had no one to call. I just knew a lot of people. And that, I discovered that day, is very different. When I was a kid, my mom used to say proudly to the neighbors, to teachers, to anyone who asked, "Mark is so independent. He doesn't bother anyone. He takes care of himself." It sounded like a compliment. And for a long time, I believed it was. I felt proud of not needing anyone. If I came home from school upset because I'd had a fight with a classmate, or because I'd been left out of a game, she'd say, "Don't cry over friends, honey. School friends come and go anyway. You just focus on your grades and your future. That's what matters." My dad was even more direct. One day, when I was about 10, I came home crying because my best friend told me he didn't want to be my friend anymore. My dad, without even looking up from his newspaper, said, "Men don't need friends. They need a job. Friends are a luxury. What's going to put food on the table is your own work, not your little buddies." He had 2 or 3 drinking buddies he called his war brothers. Guys he'd see on Fridays. They'd drink beer, tell the same stories, laugh loud. But I never saw any of them at our house when things got really bad. When my dad lost his job, when my mom got sick, when we had to sell the car, none of those brothers showed up. I grew up with this image burned into my brain. Friendship was something that existed at the bar, at the basketball court, on the street corner. But when life got serious, everyone disappeared into their own corner. And that, I thought, was normal. That's just how it works. As a teenager, I became the guy everybody knew, but nobody really knew. I got along with everyone, played pickup basketball with one group on Saturdays, hung out in the cafeteria with another group after school, stood outside the 7-Eleven talking with another crowd on weekends. People invited me to everything. I was in all the group chats, the class chat, the neighborhood chat, the basketball chat, the movie chat. I went to all the parties, all the barbecues, all the birthday gatherings. But if back then you had asked me, "Who's your best friend?" I wouldn't have known what to say. I had people to drink with, to laugh at the same jokes with, to talk about girls, video games, music. But people to talk about my fears, my insecurities, the things that kept me awake at night, I didn't. And I didn't even realize that was a problem. I thought best friends and deep emotional connections were movie things, girl things, not for guys. Guys, I believed, didn't need that kind of connection. Having some beers and talking about sports was enough. I met Emily at a friend's backyard barbecue. She was a friend of a friend of a friend. One of those endless social chains where you don't even know how you're connected anymore. We talked that night, laughed, danced a little. She asked for my number. In a short time, we started dating. And without noticing, everything I had never shared with anyone, I started pouring only into her. My frustrations about work, my doubts about what career path to take, stories from my childhood, my complicated relationship with my dad, my fears, my insecurities. She became my partner, my girlfriend, my confidant, my safe place to cry, my free therapist. And while that was happening, I slowly started drifting away from everybody who wasn't her. The guys from pickup basketball kept inviting me. "Yo, Mark, you in on Saturday? We're playing, and then grabbing some beers." And I'd say, "Man, I gotta spend some time with Emily this weekend, we got plans." College friends would text, "We're grabbing some beers Friday night at Dave's place, you coming?" "Sorry, I'm wiped, just gonna stay in with Em." At first, they insisted. After a while, they stopped. And I, instead of seeing it as a loss, saw it as evolution. I've matured. I have a partner now. I don't need to be partying all the time. And so, slowly, without realizing, I disappeared from everyone's life. When we got married, it got even stronger. Every time someone invited me out, I had two automatic answers: can't, I'm broke, or can't, Emily's not really up for it. Sometimes it really was Emily saying, you don't need to be out with those guys all the time. You have a family now. You have responsibilities. And I, instead of defending that space, just nodded. I thought, she's right. I'm not a teenager anymore. I need to be responsible. Other times, it was just my own exhaustion. After working all week, the last thing I wanted was to get ready, go out, spend money, come back late. I'd think, it's far. I'll have to drive, park, spend money on gas or Uber. Better to just stay home and watch a show with Emily. The more I said no, the less people asked, and I mistook that for growing up. This is adulthood, right? Everyone goes their separate ways. Childhood friendships die out. It's normal. Meanwhile, I was placing absolutely everything, my entire emotional life, on one person, Emily. If I was happy, I told her. If I was sad, I only told her. If work was eating me alive, I only vented to her. I didn't see that I was building an entire emotional world on a single pillar, and that if that pillar fell, everything would come crashing down with it. Over time, the marriage started to crack. Little things turned into big things. She said I was distant, even when I was home. I thought I was doing everything right. I'm here, aren't I? I'm not out at bars. I'm not cheating. I work. I pay the bills. I'm present. But being physically present isn't the same as truly being there. I was always tired, irritable, worried about money, mentally somewhere else. Emily tried to talk. How was your day? And I'd answer, fine. What did you do? Nothing. Are you okay? Yeah. One word. Always one word. She'd insist, let's really talk. What's going on with you? I feel like you don't tell me anything anymore. And I'd say, nothing's going on, I'm just tired. I'd shut down. Close off. Because deep down, I didn't even know what was wrong with me myself. Until one day in the kitchen while she was washing dishes, she said quietly, I feel alone, even though I'm married to you. That hit hard. But again, instead of being honest about how I was feeling, scared, insecure, overwhelmed, lost, I just said, you're exaggerating. Things aren't that bad. And I kept drying the dishes like nothing happened. The separation conversation wasn't some dramatic explosion. No plates flying, no yelling, no insults. It was tiredness that finally found words. On a random Wednesday night, after dinner, Emily didn't get up from the table. She just sat there, staring at her tea, silent. I washed my plate, was about to head to the couch, when she called me by my full name, Mark Andrew. I knew something big was coming. I sat back down. She took a deep breath. I can't do this anymore. My first reaction was defense. Do what? I work. I pay the bills. I'm always here. You're not missing anything. She took an even deeper breath. You're here physically, but in every other way, I don't have you. You never really talk. You don't share anything. You don't open up. Anything emotional, you shove it down and go quiet. I'm tired of living with a ghost. That word, ghost, hurt more than any insult. She cried. I didn't. I just sat there, frozen, paralyzed, not sure what to feel first. Anger, sadness, shame, fear, all at once and nothing clear. She continued. I tried. I really did. But I can't be your only connection to the world anymore. I need a partner, not a roommate. I didn't know what to say. Because deep down, I knew she was right. In a few months, the maybe we should separate turned into official divorce papers signed at a lawyer's office. She found an apartment. We split furniture, decided who got what. We didn't have kids, which made everything simpler on paper and somehow even lonelier in reality. On moving day, I woke up early, looked around the half-empty living room. Boxes stacked, furniture against the wall, echo with every step. And I realized something simple and devastating. I didn't have anyone to call to help me carry boxes. I thought, I'll call Dave, my childhood friend. I opened WhatsApp, searched his name. The last messages between us were from 2 years ago. Him. Man, we gotta hang out sometime. Me. Yeah, for sure. I'll let you know. I never did. I felt ashamed to pop up out of nowhere just to ask for help. I thought about texting coworkers, the guys I had after-work beers with on Fridays, the ones who always said, "Anything you need, bro, I got you." But when I started typing, a thought stopped me. I'll mess up their weekend. They'll think I only reach out when I need something. I thought about the basketball guys, but I hadn't shown up to play in over a year. How was I supposed to just appear now asking for a favor? In the end, the only person who showed up to help was Emily's brother. Her family. Not my friends, not my people. He arrived with his truck, helped me load everything. We barely talked. He gave me a pat on the shoulder when we finished. "Hang in there, Mark, it'll get better." And he left. Walking into my new apartment, carrying my own TV, sweating, with no one walking beside me, felt like walking down a hallway of mirrors. Each reflection said the same thing. You spent your whole life being accessible to everyone, but you never truly let anyone have access to you. The first nights alone were rough, not just because of the silence in the apartment, but because my phone went quiet too. Before, my phone buzzed non-stop. Her family group chat, her friends' event invites, her social circles. Suddenly, most of those groups didn't make sense anymore. Either I left, or I was removed. I sat on my old couch, scrolling through my contacts, realizing most conversations were just, "Hey man, can you help me with something? You know about tech, right? Can you fix this? Can I borrow your car this weekend?" I scrolled up and down, trying to find someone I could text. "Dude, I got divorced. I'm not okay. Can I talk to you?" My hand froze halfway through. I didn't know who to send that to. With some names, shame kicked in. You haven't shown up for this person in years. Now you're gonna pop up just to dump your problems on them? With others, fear. They're gonna laugh. They're gonna tell you to man up. They're gonna call you dramatic. They're gonna say you just need a beer, not a hug. In the end, I didn't text anyone. And right there, lying on the mattress on the floor, staring at the empty ceiling, I realized I didn't have a single safe shoulder to lean on. One night, lying on that mattress on the living room floor, unable to sleep, a question hit me like a punch. How many real friends do I have? The kind I could call at 3 a.m. if my life fell apart. The answer was uncomfortable. 0. Because I had always been the guy. Responsible. Chill. Who handles everything. Who never complains. I listened to everyone's problems. Helped with moves, relationships, job searches. Stayed up late talking about other people's pain. But when it came to my own, I shut down, changed the subject, made a joke, said I was fine. Deep down, I didn't trust anyone enough to show them my weakness. Because I'd been taught that weakness was something you had to hide. That a man doesn't cry, doesn't ask for help, doesn't complain. But the truth is, real friendship doesn't exist without exposed weakness. There's no real connection if you only show the edited, perfect version of who you are. People connect with what's real, not with what's perfect. One day, tired of my own silence, I decided to text Dave, that childhood friend. I wrote and erased the message 10 times, until finally I sent, "Hey man, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I got divorced. I'm kinda lost. Wanna grab a coffee sometime?" I hit send before I could chicken out. To my surprise, he replied in under 5 minutes. "Of course, dude. When works for you?" We met that Saturday morning at a diner near his place. When I walked in and saw him, I felt a weird embarrassment, like I was begging for attention. He hugged me like we'd seen each other yesterday. He started right away. "Man, I saw about the divorce on Facebook. I thought about reaching out, but I figured you wouldn't want to talk to me." And I said, I thought I wasn't allowed to just show up anymore, that it'd be weird after so long. We laughed awkwardly. We had coffee, ate some eggs and toast, talked about everything, Work, family, health, politics, basketball, until I finally had the courage and said, "Man, I realized something. I don't have any friends, not real ones. When I was moving out, I had no one to call. And that's on me too." He stayed quiet for a few seconds, stirred his coffee with the spoon, then said, "You know, I felt the same way when my dad died. There were tons of people at the funeral. Everyone giving condolences, but no one I could really talk to about what I was feeling. I never learned to ask for help either." Right there, in that cheap diner, two 30-something guys finally admitted we didn't know how to be friends to each other, or to ourselves. And for the first time in years, I cried in front of another man who wasn't family. He didn't laugh, didn't make jokes, didn't tell me to toughen up. He just let me cry. And that simple gesture, was more healing than any advice. After that day, I understood something important. Friendship doesn't just appear out of nowhere. You have to build it. Like a plant. Slowly. Consistently. With care. I started small. Texting people without an agenda. Not just when I needed something. Just to ask, "How are you really?" Inviting someone for coffee. Not to drink until we passed out. Not to watch a game, but to talk without noise. Actually replying to people with attention. Not that eternal, "I'll answer this later," that turns into nothing. And most importantly, I tried something totally new for me. Saying when I wasn't okay. At work, when someone asked, "How's it going?" Sometimes I'd answer, "Honestly, it's been a rough time. I'm going through a separation. It's complicated." Some people got uncomfortable, changed the subject, but others opened up. "Man, I've been through that. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." We didn't become instant best friends, but at least we opened a door that had been closed before. On Dave's suggestion, I started therapy. Something that months earlier I never would have considered. That's for crazy people, I used to think. But I didn't care anymore what other people thought. In one of the first sessions, the therapist asked, "How do you feel about your relationships?" I laughed, nervous. I realized I don't really have friends. Or if I do, I don't know how to be a friend back. She asked, "When did you learn that you had to handle everything on your own?" I talked about my mom, my dad, the independent label, the constant message, "Don't need anyone." I started to see a pattern. I'd been trained to not need anyone. And if you don't need anyone, you don't let anyone truly need you either. I only showed the edited version of myself to others. Never the fear, never the shame, never the vulnerability. Always the guy who has everything under control. But the truth is, you can't build deep friendship on top of a character. People connect with what's real, not with what's perfect. Today, a few years after the divorce, I still don't have a huge group of friends. I'm not the guy who's in 10 group chats, but I do have a few names I know I can call if things fall apart. And more importantly, I try to be for them what I wish I'd had when I was walking into that empty apartment alone. Sometimes I get messages like, "Man, I saw what you went through. I'm going through something similar. Can we talk?" I remember the version of me who carried his own boxes on moving day, feeling completely alone. And I do it differently. I put down what I can. Listen. Ask. Offer to be there. Not with advice, just with presence. Because I learned, the hard way, that there's no such thing as a strong man who needs no one. There's just a lonely man who hasn't learned how to trust. I got divorced and realized I had no real friends. Today I'm relearning. Slowly. Awkwardly. Sometimes with setbacks. But for the first time, I'm not doing it completely alone. I learned that friendship isn't having someone to drink beers with. It's having someone you can cry with. I learned that being vulnerable isn't being weak. It's being brave in a way they never taught us. I learned that if you want real friends, you first have to learn to be a friend to yourself. To look at yourself. To listen to yourself. To not run away from what you feel. And I learned, above all, that it's okay to ask for help. That it's okay to say, "I'm not okay." That it's okay to not have all the answers. Because in the end, we're all a little broken. We all carry our own boxes alone at some point. But it doesn't have to be that way all the time. If this story made you look at your own contacts list and wonder who would actually show up if your life fell apart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next stories. Because we don't talk about perfect lives here. We talk about real lives, real men, who fall, who get back up, who learn. Share this video with someone who might need it. In the next video, I'll tell you about a son who went his whole life without a hug from his father, until a dangerous surgery forced them to truly meet each other for the first time. That hug changed everything. You don't want to miss it. See you in the next video.